I lowered my gaze to the person lying on the ground. I removed the cigarette from my mouth and slowly exhaled a stream of smoke. The pain in my left shoulder throbbed, but I ignored it. Through the haze, I played with the lighter and said calmly, "Nicholas, have I ever treated you poorly?" He pleaded desperately. "Albert, I'm sorry. I really am wrong. Nicholas, that deal you handled was excellent." I let out a pleased laugh and stood up. My smiling face darkened with coldness. "Nicholas, you know I don't tolerate betrayal. I was just about to deal with this messy situation. Someone called me. It was an elderly woman who had helped me when I was a child, her voice unusually excited. "Albert, suddenly a large group of people showed up at your home. They arrived in expensive cars and were dressed very nicely. They said you're Edwin's real son. Once they found out you weren't there, they asked someone to pass along a message to you." I slowly frowned. My parents' graves are already overgrown with weeds taller than me. Where would I suddenly get another pair of parents? "Sophia, did they mention which Shin family?" "They said it's the Shin Group's Shun family." I didn't react much, my tone unchanged. "All right, Sophia, I'll head back right away." After ending the call, I remained calm and continued dealing with the matter at hand. A biological connection to the Shin family? It wasn't even close to how shocking Dennis's betrayal had been. My official identity is just a waiter working at the bar. I live in a modest dormitory building nearby. The bar is under my control, so the boss knows about my true identity behind the scenes. The boss smiled and handed me a cigarette, lighting the lighter. "Albert, that fake heir from the Shin family has been posing as you for over 20 years. After all the hardships you've endured, how about we?" I gave him a sideways glance. The boss awkwardly put the lighter down. A small streak of red appeared on his fingertip. I narrowed my eyes, my interest undiminished. "Honestly, I'm curious. What kind of person is this imposter who's lived a life of luxury? What kind of person would it be? The kind of person my former lover looked like, who ran away years ago." I was wearing a white short-sleeve shirt, layered with an outdated dark jacket, faded blue jeans, and old sneakers peeling at the soles. I got into the car sent by the Shin family to pick me up. The Shin family estate was truly massive. I'd heard of the Shin Group before. It started with my paternal grandfather in real estate. When signs of internet growth emerged, my biological father stepped in calmly and decisively, quickly seizing the opportunity to dominate the market. In short, it was a top-tier company in China. So established and respected it felt like another world entirely from mine. I stepped into the Shin family residence amid the mixed glances of servants and staff. Some filled with sympathy, others laced with quiet disdain. I walked into the grand, well-lit hall, where the floor was polished marble reflecting every light. The ceiling sparkled with a dazzling crystal chandelier, and priceless oil paintings lined the walls. I took in my surroundings slowly, though I had access to luxury, perhaps even more extravagant. I couldn't help but feel curious. Was this the life I was meant to live all along? Living in the light of day. No crumbling apartment buildings with walls stripped bare. No damp moss growing in shadows. No air thick with the musty smell of dampness. No shouting or violence from my family. No bullying from classmates or dismissal from teachers. No anxiety over being unable to pay tuition fees. I tilted my head slightly upward. The block of flats was too tall and densely packed. It was clearly a sunny day, yet not a single ray of sunlight managed to get through. Felt so cold. "Let's go." I turned around, and that moment sealed my fate. From now on, I would always be walking away from the light. A wave of envy and resentment was held in check by a stronger sense of reason. I lowered my gaze, offering a faint, unsettling smile. My ability to act had become second nature after years of practice. Carefully glancing around, as if I were a sparrow caught in a golden cage, hesitant and self-conscious. But when my eyes landed on the expensive porcelain and fine paintings in the living room, I couldn't hide the spark of excitement and longing in my expression. The butler who greeted me couldn't help but frown at the sight of me. My biological parents and younger sister were already waiting for me in the living room. My father carried a dignified presence. My mother was gentle and kind, and my little sister had a sweet, cheerful charm. Upon seeing me, my parents didn't show any disdain. Instead, Their expressions softened with guilt and concern as they stepped forward to welcome me. My younger sister didn't show any disdain or impatience upon seeing my clothes. Instead, she called out brightly and warmly, "Brother, welcome home." My fingers were twisted white as I tried to force a nervous smile, preparing to stammer out, "Mom, Dad, little sister." Suddenly, my gaze locked onto another pair of sharp, cold phoenix eyes in the living room. The young man had an extremely handsome face, as if drawn with ink. Yet his dignified and distant aura overshadowed even that beauty, leaving only a sense of cold precision and sharpness. Edwin's eyes fell upon my increasingly submissive expression, and the usually composed man nearly flinched. Could this really be the fake heir? But wasn't he the one I once admired most, only for him to betray me and run away years ago? I smiled with my teeth clenched. According to my original plan, seeing this so-called heir would trigger unbearable jealousy, shame, anger, and pain. I'd charge at him, the one who replaced me in life, sending everything into chaos within the Shin family. And I could finally see what kind of people the Shin family truly were. Was I, their long-lost son who'd suffered hardship all these years, really more important than this adopted son they've nurtured and raised for 20 years? The world is busy with people chasing profit. The masses are driven by gain, and especially among families that value wealth and advantage above all. People's patience has its limits. My so-called greedy, vulgar, cruel, and foolish son, the one who constantly embarrassed them, would eventually wear down their guilt and remorse. Then how would they choose? I suppressed the dark thoughts and strong interest welling up inside me, buried deep beneath my bones, my envy and hatred, and put on a mask that fooled the world while watching everything coldly. No matter what happened, I come out unharmed. I just wanted to watch the spectacle, adding a little excitement to my otherwise dull life. When I'm done with it, I'll return to the world that's truly mine. Now, though, I've changed my mind. After calling out, "Dad, Mom, little sister," I turned to look at Edwin. I couldn't help but feel amazed. Several years had passed. My young companion had grown noticeably more thoughtful and reserved. That face was still exactly my type. I could never forget those eyes. My heart raced. Mother hesitated for a moment, glancing at me with some nervousness, then said, "He's your brother." "You're my younger brother?" I spoke in surprise and gripped Edwin's hands, as if I'd ever want to be the younger one. My fingertips brushed lightly against his palm, familiar and charged with quiet intimacy. Everything that made Edwin uneasy was because of me. For instance, right now, he tried hard to pull away but was afraid his parents would notice something was off between us. But I had much stronger grip than him, holding his hand tightly like a clamp, while keeping a gentle and cautious expression. Worried he might think less of me, Edwin took in a deep breath, as if giving in, no longer bothering to resist. He gave a barely audible hum. During dinner, I still made sure to keep up the image of a poor kid suddenly in a wealthy family, gobbling down the fancy and expensive dishes with gusto, the spoon clinking sharply against the porcelain bowl. The house staff looked on with visible discomfort. My father, however, remained completely calm. Mother said gently, "You must be starving. Albert, would you like some more?" My younger sister stared in shock. Wow, my big brother really eats a lot. After dinner, Edwin went upstairs to his room. I followed him up the stairs. Just as he was about to close the door, I stepped in quickly. I locked the door from the inside. My face looked pale and drawn. My eyes lowered with a quiet sadness as I said, "Brother doesn't like me, does he? Why won't you say anything to me at all?" Edwin let out a soft sigh, his expression unreadable. "Albert, stop pretending." I leaned against the door and lifted my head slightly, raising one eyebrow as the look of shyness and insecurity vanished from my face. I gave Edwin a calm, quiet smile, my voice carrying a hint of coolness. "Sweetheart, it's been so long." Edwin stared at me steadily. "Albert, it's been a while." Unlike in the stories, where one main character is always caught quickly no matter how many times they try to run away. But I didn't do that. Why was that? Of course, it wasn't because I didn't want to. It's just that I couldn't bring him back at all. Edwin got away from me once, right in front of my eyes. I still remember it clearly. That calm, distant voice saying, Albert, goodbye. He vanished completely without a trace. After that, I got caught up in other matters. By the time I tried to look for him again, all leads had disappeared. No matter how hard I searched, I couldn't find him. Long time no see, sweetheart. Did you miss me? I yawned lazily, as if we'd never been apart, and pulled him into my arms. Edwin frowned. You're hurt. I glanced over and saw a damp patch on my left shoulder, though it wasn't very noticeable. I brushed it off. Just a small injury. Don't worry about it. Edwin didn't believe me for a second. It was the first time since I joined the Shin family that I saw a look of concern cross his face. The wound had reopened. It actually hurt quite a bit. Edwin's frown deepened. Is this what you call a minor injury? I didn't give it much thought. You've seen worse injuries before. For a man, death is the only real hardship. Edwin picked up scissors and cut through my short-sleeve shirt before tossing the pieces aside. He scowled, pulled a medical kit from under the bed, then gently unbandaged my shoulder to reveal the wound. He composed himself and asked softly, "Is it really painful?" I was shameless. "If you kiss me, I won't feel it anymore." Edwin ignored my comment and worked gently, his hands steady as he treated the wound while asking, "Who did this?" His voice sounded strangely cold. I studied the well-stocked medical kit with its array of tools and medicines, narrowing my eyes slightly. Something about it felt off, but the pain was sharp, and my focus shifted quickly. I smoothed out the crumpled sheets and didn't really want to talk about it. Just a traitor. It's already taken care of. Edwin looked down at the old scars on my body. Some were there before Edwin ever knew me. Some of them were new scars that appeared after Edwin left me. Edwin's dark, slender eyes fixed on the marks across my body. As if lost in thought, I reached into my pocket and pulled out a cigarette, putting it between my lips. But Edwin took it from me before I could light it. I gave him an annoyed look. Edwin tossed the cigarette into the trash bin and said calmly, "Smoking is bad for your health." Edwin stood up, looking down at me with a cold and intense presence that filled the space around him. I called out his real name boldly. "Edwin, you owe me compensation." To my surprise, Edwin actually asked, "Compensate for what?" I said, "You've been living under my identity for over 20 years. Don't you think it's only fair that you make up for it?" Edwin lowered his lashes slightly and let out a quiet laugh. "Yes, compensation is necessary." I nodded in satisfaction, my voice dark and low. "Do you know what I've been thinking all this time? I endured so much hardship, suffered countless wounds. Just surviving took every ounce of strength. Why should a fake heir take my place and live in comfort and wealth for so many years? I had already torn down the veil between us. Yes, that's exactly what I wanted. To make him feel guilt, shame, and pain. He felt intense frustration and jealousy upon learning the truth about his identity. But then I saw Edwin. Seeing Edwin, the anger froze in place. The person I cared for deeply, the one I held closest to my heart. In that moment, I found myself feeling a strange sense of relief. I was glad it was me who went through all this, not him. The past is too heavy to return to. The mistake was already made and couldn't be undone, so I might as well make the most of it and try to get something good out of it. I glanced around his room with satisfaction, as if a young male were surveying his own territory. The bed was spacious, the lighting was bright, and the room itself felt generous in size. I was excited and went on to make another request. "I want to live with you, Edwin." "No, my parents." I shifted my sore shoulder slowly and blinked gently, whispering with a pitiful tone, "Hurts. I can't live alone. I need someone to look after me." Edwin looked at my pale face, strained from blood loss and pain, yet I kept fidgeting restlessly. He couldn't believe I didn't care about my own condition. Edwin let out a frustrated laugh. "Fine, you're living with me." I happily leaned in, reaching for a kiss. Just as our lips were about to meet, Edwin locked his hand firmly under my jaw. His other hand cradled my injured shoulder as he pressed a fierce kiss onto mine. It felt like it carried unbearable sorrow, anger, and longing. Wait. Where did my quiet and shy lover go? Finally releasing me, he lowered his eyes, his voice soft and distant. "I've been trying to figure out how to keep you from running off and getting hurt." "No way. Did you just steal my line?" I still remember our first meeting. It was at a nightclub in a foreign country. Edwin had strikingly handsome features, his calm and composed East Asian face standing out among the array of exotic beauties. His appearance was refined and elegant, with an air of dignified restraint. Far from someone who belonged to the world of nightlife, more like a young nobleman from a wealthy family. His eyes, as distant and frosty as snowflakes, seemed to draw me in completely. I've never been drawn to women or men. Over the years, even when many people offered themselves to me, I remained untouched, but when I saw Edwin, I felt my long dormant feelings beginning to stir. I was instantly drawn to him. His face was so striking. It felt like exactly what I'd been looking for. I didn't hesitate. I quickly brought him back to my suite. He must have explained things to his parents somehow, but in the end, I ended up staying in his room. In the days that followed, it was clear my biological parents were eager to make amends, and my younger sister also wanted to get closer to me. Whenever my parents took me shopping at luxury boutiques, whenever I so much as glanced at something, my father would wave his hand with no hesitation and buy it right away. When my mother encountered other wealthy women who giggled behind their hands and subtly criticized me, she responded gently in tone but with sharp words that cut through like a hidden blade. Without any second thought, I was utterly amazed by her response. At night, I confided in him. Your life over the past 20 years must have been truly enjoyable. Loved by your parents, never worried about food or clothing. I can't help but feel jealous. Edwin lifted his usually aloof eyes and let out a soft laugh. Really? There's something even better. So the next day, I stood there in shock, staring at a row of teachers in the living room. My parents introduced each instructor to me one by one. This is the one who'll teach me proper etiquette for high society. This is the one who'll guide me in identifying luxury goods and fine wines. This is the one who'll help me learn multiple languages from around the world. This is the one who'll teach me how to dress with style and confidence. And there's even someone to train me in business management. All the teachers gave me friendly smiles. Edwin gave me a harmless smile and leaned close, whispering in my ear, "Albert, you carry too much tension. Let me teach you how to become an elegant, refined gentleman and a respected business leader." Under the teacher's hopeful glances, as I struggled to suppress my natural speech and forced out a clumsy accent, while Edwin watched me with amusement, I almost wanted to slap myself. Why did I even decide on this persona in the first place? "Brother, you're really too handsome." My sister, who's obsessed with appearances, stared at my face in awe, then confidently tapped a black card on the cashier counter. "This one, that one, and this set, that set. None of them are bad. Just wrap them all up for me." My sister was excited as she picked out clothes for me at the clothing store. I was sitting on the small sofa inside the store, glancing toward my reflection in the full-length mirror. A light gray wool-blend V-neck sweater layered over a white cotton shirt with the collar slightly open, paired with beige casual pants that held their shape well, making my legs look longer than they are. My wrist hung loose, adorned with a Janssen watch featuring a deep blue dial. I was lounging with half-lidded eyes, appearing relaxed and effortless. There was indeed a hint of refined elegance that comes from growing up in wealth. I felt drowsy, listening to the soft music playing in the store. My usually tense mind finally began to unwind. Before I knew it, I had fallen asleep. "Brother, shoo! Don't make a sound." A familiar scent of dulling wrapped around me, and I instinctively settled into a comfortable position. Hugging the person close and drifting back to sleep, I was jolted awake by the sound of a ringing phone. Opening my eyes, I found myself lying in my bedroom at home. I answered the phone without thinking. On the other end was an anxious voice. "Albert, someone's causing trouble at our place." My brows knitted together, and I instinctively reached for my waist. Where's my weapon? I vaguely remembered someone's hand moving over me while I was half awake. Wait. Could it have been Edwin who took it? I clenched my teeth slightly, then it hit me all at once. Reaching out, I pulled open the drawer of the nightstand, and there it was. There was also a sticky note on top. "I put this here because I didn't want it to bother you while you were sleeping." I quickly slid the weapon back into place at my waist and hurried out the door. On the way, after learning the details, I was furious. Walking through the casino hall, a tense atmosphere hung in the air. The regular guests had already been cleared out, leaving only a few trusted allies guarding the stairs. I went straight upstairs and pushed open the door to the private room, only to find two identical-looking men sitting inside. One of them had gentle features, a soft smile playing at his lips, with an elegant and refined aura, like a nobleman straight out of an old family estate. The other was holding a cigarette, exhaling white smoke that blurred his defiant expression. His eyes sharp and cold, as if he were a sword just drawn from its sheath. Clearly not someone to be messed with. These are my brother Hugo and his partner Clark. The situation has gotten serious. Might have already caught the police's attention. Unlike me, with Hugo handling things behind the scenes, I'll definitely have an easier time. Hugo gave a faint smile. I'll take care of everything. Just repaying you for your help last time. No need to talk about splitting up the casino profits. I know he's referring to how he used my casino to deal with his two older brothers. I gave a small wave, and within seconds, subordinates dragged the people on the floor away. The private room was now just us three. Clark, who usually ignored me, suddenly spoke up. Hugo said you're actually the real heir of the Shin Group? Me? His eyes finally showed a flicker of interest. So, what are you going to do about the fake heir? Hugo looked like he was ready for some juicy gossip. I just felt confused. Why would I need to deal with him? Clark looked at me like I was the one who'd gone mad. He took your identity. You were born into wealth and privilege, yet you've been living out there all these years, suffering through hardships. Don't you hate him? Don't you want to get back at him? I said. A little, but not much after all. I really care about Edwin. Lucky me. I was the one who ended up out there instead of him. He's such a delicate young nobleman. He wouldn't have lasted long in that harsh world. Clark said, you'd be great at digging for roots. Hugo snorted. Even zombies would spit out your brain if it was full of lovesick nonsense. Clark raised an eyebrow. Wait. Didn't Hugo say you had a beloved young companion not long ago? So quickly over him? I replied, that young companion was Edwin. Hugo propped up his chin, clearly intrigued by my love life. As a crime boss, how did he even manage to escape back then? I lowered my eyes. Back then, could I really not bring Edwin back? The answer, of course, was no. In fact, I had quietly approved every move he made to get away. You don't survive in that world without knowing the rules. There were countless people out there who wanted me dead. Once, Edwin was hurt by an enemy trying to protect me. If I had gotten hurt like that, I probably wouldn't have blinked. But seeing him injured, it just felt so painful to watch. I was terrified. My heart nearly stopped. Overwhelming panic washed over me like a flood, leaving only suffocation and fear behind. He wasn't seriously hurt this time, but what about next time? That moment, I finally understood. He would become my greatest weakness. I'd become the source of his danger. If I kept holding on to him by force, what if one day I missed something important? What if he were gone? Then what would I do? He was like the bright moon high in the night sky, pure and clear, untouched by dust, and I was just a patch of murky water, longing for him, a dirty thing. We were never meant to have a happy ending. I poured myself a cup of tea and took a quiet sip. Love is about holding on, but also letting go. I don't want to do anything that would make him unhappy. I'm not doing well, and you're not going to either, Clark. Clark couldn't believe I was such a romantic. You actually play the pure love game? I wasn't happy about it. What's wrong with pure love? Hugo looked at me with a thoughtful expression. Maybe Edwin 5 years ago wasn't worth worrying about, but now, as a good friend, I'd advise you not to take him lightly. Joke? What do you mean? Don't let him slip under my radar? Do you really think I'd get caught off guard like that? I returned to Edwin's villa on the outskirts of town. I unlocked my phone without expression and opened a certain app. I went through the device setup. This was a tiny listening device I borrowed from Hugo, originally meant to gather info on an enemy of mine. I clipped it onto an unnoticeable button and forgot to take it off when I came back. Edwin and I are built similarly. Clothes often go back and forth between us, yours and mine. I remember Edwin wearing my jacket right before I fell asleep. Maybe luck's on my side. Just maybe. A calm and detached young voice came through the phone. Hugo, you don't need to worry about this. I'll handle Albert myself, And I'd rather you stay away from Albert. Hugo's voice was gentle but clearly amused. Come on, Edwin. Your possessiveness is really something. You're far from trustworthy, yet you insist on pretending to be innocent in front of Albert. Edwin's tone was sarcastic. No one's crazier than you. People like you are too unstable and self-obsessed. Albert doesn't deserve someone like that. I couldn't help but laugh. I just couldn't hold it in. I made a call to Edwin. Edwin eventually answered, a cold voice, with just a hint of unease. Albert, Edwin. Get back here right now. I let out a dry laugh. Hand the phone to Hugo. Edwin didn't dare refuse, and Hugo took the phone hesitantly. I said mockingly, Hugo, you're cutting ties with me. Ha! Have you forgotten who helped you secretly dismantle that lab that trapped you for over a decade? And who stayed by your side day and night when you were sick? I said, you bunch of troublemakers. Do you really think I'm an easy target? I held back my frustration. I truly have terrible luck to end up with a group like you. Everyone fell silent. They were quiet now, just asking to be left alone. That day, I finally asked him, why did you want to leave me back then? Edwin buried his head into my neck and mumbled, because I was too weak. You were just a minor figure in name only. I couldn't protect you at all. He let out a soft laugh. If I had been stronger, I'd have had more say. Tell me, could I help you then? I gently brushed my nose against his face and gave a quiet scoff. Don't make it sound so noble. Were you really trying to help me, or just wanting to keep me close, Edwin? Could I even hold on to you like that? I thought carefully, didn't mock him for it, and instead asked, would you really be willing to let go? Edwin sighed. I couldn't bear to. Moonlight streamed through the window. It shone especially bright and pure. I kissed his damp hair. How about we go get rings made tomorrow? Edwin wrapped his arms around my waist and leaned in to listen to my heartbeat. Okay, Albert, Edwin. The dirty child covered in mud had finally reached the clear moon that never turned away from him. End of main story. Epilogue. Edwin. I had a strong feeling for Albert the moment I saw him. I was being pursued by enemies while studying abroad. I blended in among the crowd at a private club. I saw an Eastern man sitting on the sofa, elegant and poised, with strikingly handsome features. He's exactly my type. I almost forgot I was on the run, seeing how the manager treated him with such respect. His background must be quite influential. His gaze landed on me. He seemed interested in me. Coincidentally, I was also quite intrigued by him, with my Chinese face standing out sharply among all the blonde and blue-eyed foreigners. I didn't have much time left, so I made up my mind to use him to get through the danger safely. What's your name? I didn't give my real name, just made one up. Jason. What about you? Albert, the big player on the streets. No wonder he's so skilled, with so many scars, earned through sheer determination and risk. I didn't lose unfairly. Wait, it turns out one of the people I might have crossed is part of this big player's circle. The saying goes, the most dangerous place is the safest. This minor issue wouldn't likely reach the top leader. I'll pretend to be his close companion for now and stay out of trouble. The time I've spent with Albert, he's been kind to me. I really like him. When danger came, I even stepped in front of him to take the blow. I've never been hurt this badly in my life. The pain was so intense it left me numb. For the first time, I saw a look of alarm in Albert's eyes. He was truly moved. He felt the same way about me as I did about him. After I recovered from my injuries, I started planning to leave quietly. I was far too weak. It would be easy for me to become a vulnerability for Albert. The situation overseas was just too unstable. So I returned to my home country. It's where I feel most in control. I also knew Albert quietly accepted my decision to leave. He let me go without stopping me, as if the ocean between us was unbridgeable. One side was strong, the other weak. Such pairs rarely end well. My father handed over part of the family's business to me. Outwardly, I was just young Edwin, but behind the scenes, I stepped into a different world. Due to my circumstances, I glanced at the growing number of scars on my body, frowned, and decided to get them removed surgically. 5 years later, my parents suddenly told me I wasn't their biological son. I was switched at birth by a careless nurse. My real parents have passed away. My father reportedly died at home after being stabbed by debt collectors due to gambling debts. My mother died in a hit-and-run accident while wandering aimlessly. Meanwhile, my parents' real son dropped out of school early, lived in a rundown dormitory building, and worked odd jobs at a local bar just to get by. Looking into my parents' eyes filled with complex emotions and tears, I fell silent. After 20 years of bond, my parents couldn't just discard everything like that, but I couldn't possibly be ungrateful either. At this point, I already had influence across both legal and underground networks. Even if I left the Shin family, I wouldn't be worried about my future. I decided to reach out to Albert. My parents weren't really my parents, and my sister wasn't truly my sister either. That left me with only Albert. For 5 years, I've never stopped thinking about him. I just want to be worthy of him. I felt a bit guilty toward the real young master, but not much. I'd leave the Shin family at most, stay out of his sight, and leave some of the money I've earned over the years behind for him. Then ensure he lives without worries for the rest of his life. Once I've settled everything under my name in the Shin family, I'll pack my suitcase and quietly leave as soon as the real young master returns. Then go find Albert. My flight ticket was already booked, but when I saw the handsome and nervous young man walking in, I froze. He was stunned too. He was stunned. His attitude shifted instantly from, "What's it got to do with me? I was just a newborn baby back then. What could I have done?" If anyone should be blamed, it's the real young master for his bad luck. Just give him more money as compensation and take better care of him. What else can we do? I'm truly terrible, especially the many scars crisscrossing his body. When we were close, I once touched and kissed them myself. I couldn't help but feel deeply pained then, so I made it my mission to target any forces that had a grudge against Albert. In the end, I found out the enemy was actually myself. The wound on his shoulder had started bleeding again. He'd grown used to tending to his own injuries, and I quickly and skillfully re-wrapped the bandage for him. But this man still couldn't stay still. He kept teasing me. I lowered my gaze, hiding the intense longing and twisted intensity swirling in my eyes. But then came an overwhelming sense of fear. Cold sweat broke out on my palms. I had taken over his identity. He was forced down a path he couldn't turn back from. He'd endured so much hardship. He'd suffered through so many wounds. Would he hate me? Would he despise me? Just imagining him looking at me with cold, distant eyes. It was more than I could bear. I couldn't bear it at all. And that's not even the worst of it. With hatred and deadly intent in his eyes, I never expected him to boldly demand compensation from me. At the time, I thought, he wanted my life. I'd give it to him. The day my parents and younger sister found out, we were kissing in my office as the CEO. They came to visit me together. Just as they pushed open the door, my younger sister gave a forced smile. Back to being family after all. Ha! My father frowned and said sternly, "What kind of behavior is this?" My mother looked away, clearly embarrassed. In the end, they had no choice but to accept us. The custom-made ring is beautiful. It's set with a diamond at the top. I walked home hand in hand with Albert,